Hey, just a second. You know, say for subscribe now free. Plenty people who they watch here, they know they subscribe because someone feel say for subscribe, they need for pay money. If you not be known for no now say for subscribe now free. But why for subscribe? If for subscribe for three main reasons. Number one, you go be the first person we go know whenever we come on live. Number two, you go be the first person we go know whenever we upload new video. And number three, you go be the first person for comments, like or share. And the last one for support we, so we go bring kind of content here regularly to you. So you see how it beneficial to you. So if you don't subscribe it, what you do it? I for subscribe to TPP Leo now. And before I forget, not forget for click the notification bell so you go get all the notification. Bam.
According to the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where we say one of the findings where they present to the public and the world, the thing where caused 11 years war, na corruption, where more than 50,000 people then died, property then born, the country go behind. And we all agree say yes, indeed, corruption na a danger, in fact, na a national security threat. Now, when the war be done in 2002, we good party then around the world, you know, notably Britain, where now we colonial master, they strongly recommend for law we create an institution for fight corruption. Not to say we'll not be ever get her. In fact, in the 60s, we get a sort of anti-corruption instrument where we they use, where the Salon government be they use, but not effective, will lead to the war. So international partners then, Britain and the West, where we can go bigger money, and you know, for GIWI. Of course, we know how their institutions and they do them countries and they not just give money, so then they give some conditionalities and things and the way you're supposed to do before they help you. So they recommend for law we set up several institutions, but the most one they talk about now the SEC. The SEC, the intention for the SEC now for fight corruption, prosecute corruption, reduce corruption, make sure say we not go back to how we come out. And in 2000, the current SEC came into effect through the parliament when the then president Tijan Kaba be make sure say yes that bill they go through, and there we get the force SEC. Now, the SEC from inception, it begin to face challenges from the time when they cover, when they born, where the first SEC boss, na Valentine Collier. One of the notably big case where he be confronted, na the case of Momo Pujo and Wef, where they be accused for involving diamond where get connection to the war and some other big fish there around. As we know, then case they not be pull, not be go even far, then don't. But the thing will be surprised, a lot of people within the 5 years of the SEC, the boss, when Valentine Collier, himself then be accused for corruption, then end of Osaka. Now, so you own story end. But during the time of that very Collier, the Valentine Collier, the SEC not be independent, not be even gets power for do anything by itself, because according to the Den Haag, when the SEC boss don't investigate everything, if we submit this to the Attorney General, where a very political, strong political actor, where for recommend whether a case for go to court or not. So that now one of the challenges where the SEC begin face. Now, when the SRPP lost power to Ernest Bai Koroma, the ex-president, he said he strongly word the world. And he made it clear, say there would be no sacred cow when it comes to corruption. And that we go make sure say we fight corruption with all which we can. That was a very brilliant idea. And when it comes into power, they make some amendments from the previous SEC bill. In other words, for give more power to the SEC for investigate and prosecute offenders or people that were suspect for involved in corruption. And again, during the time of doing time, the SEC they take up a very big challenge. Then go after big names and doing the term of Ernest Bai Koroma, people like Kemosi say, after to Kaba, to name but few. These are people where the SEC go after, even though they're not able to get any like convict them. At the end of the day, it left like that. And you know, from the other half of cases, where like serious serious tangible result no dey, because again, before the SEC Act, it get for pass through the Ministry of Justice and all of them. And one of the thing where one of the biggest, perhaps one of the biggest challenge, that the fact that the SEC, the boss of the SEC, according to the Constitution, the president na get rights for hire and fire. He can sack at any time. He can appoint and he can sack. Now, we see the way the country be the move during the time then day, with time where APC be in power, we headed by ex-president and it's by Komon. Lately, corruption not a thing we hide. Everybody be the see, how things are operating in the country, where people can be vexed, and come to, long fast forward and come to the current government, where led by Madabio. Before Madabio they take power, he make a known to the people and see the fight against corruption, now very serious challenge, where himself said there will be no sacred cow. And as a result, he go put all effort to make sure say we get rid of corruption. It was a welcome idea. Everybody want for let we see we country we free from corruption, or at least to minimize corruption. Now, he appoints this current SEC boss, when Ben Kaifala, when a young man where he enthusiastic, he get the passion for go after corruption. And during this very short time where SLPP did have power, the rates at which the SEC don't work, it don't be more improved. The story completely changed. If you check along the world, you see say we ranking don't they change. Then praise we in so many Afrobarometer, Transparency International Index, Salon do extremely well. We jumped more than 10 places in 2018. In Africa, Afrobarometer, we came third. The country there, we have number third country will be vigorously fight or the try to fight corruption. And even the perception of the public opinion, it raised from 40% up to 75, 71%, or even more. And the SEC, that is the current SEC we talk about, they don't get more than 95 success conviction rates. This is unprecedented in the history of the SEC. And according to what you understand again, the SEC, during the reigns of this very SEC boss, they're able to get more than 200 billion loans, weighing like $2 million from corrupt officials and things, which is a very good thing. Now, if you see some of the few names and where they'll be able to convict now, then secure conviction against Kadiatu Alamatu to say the former Deputy Minister of Works, Housing and Infrastructure. The SEC also will succeed for convict Aye Momo and Abdul Kaba. They also succeed against Ben Fona, many others. These are just few of the examples where this current SEC, where they led by Ben Kaifala, achieve, which is very good. Now, what do we want to talk about here? We see again the effort of the SEC for chase big faces there, big guns and big people in our society, people that were very powerful. We see even notably cases like the former vice president, Dr. Fo, they bring and come, SEC go after. We see some people like of recently very powerful SLPP people like Alpha Timbo in deputy and others. The SEC go after her. Now, the thing will actually move some of free for come on here for explain. Now, the last one you saw we'll talk about the issue of the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Labor, when Alpha Timbo, where the SEC vigorously claim with enthusiastically say that get ironclad proof say involved in corruption. What now is corruption? China be send about 49,000 bags of rice through this the flagship program of His Excellency Madabio school feeding program. These guys it just disappear. People are able to understand what's that. And the SEC say they get evidence see people like they were already mentioned and Alpha Timbo and others, they're involved in this. So they began for prosecute them. In other words, then take them to court and the president relieve them off their duty as well as the standard practice way most of for allow investigation for both. So Along the line, we all understand, so we only able to get around 868 bags of the rest out of 49,000 way they able to secure. Within this process again, we can understand, say, the person where they are accused of this particular issue, the Norwegian Stettenberg in deputy as well as minister of labor, where it shocked a lot of people. While the case not conclude conclusively, in the sense that we not able to get a verdict whether the ACC lost the case or whether they win the case. And we also say the lawyer where they represent the accused be threatening ACC for pay $250 million loans, which like $25,000. Now here comes the point where they try to analyze and see if the ACC boss in it for resign, or maybe the SEC not just another big joke for distract the attention of the people. Now that's not the thing where we want to try for make people know. Because one of the things where I want clear, the SEC now some people now we the phone now, though some of our partners. In other words, like now taxpayers' money, they owe obligation to salon people for explaining what they go on. Ben Kaifala they pay sufficient money for letting doing work, even though now the president's appointer. So it all explanation. But for let me just get a very abrupt. In other words, they just do the thing as if to say, to matter or whatever, and take, I know if they try to take the people in for granted or whatever. Because the excuse where the SEC presents, the then Attorney General, they make a request, say, when they try them people here, they're not for involved jurors, according to from what we gather. And the then Attorney General said, no, in order to get a fair trial for the people here, there should be jurors along the line. So within these technicalities we involve, the SEC decide for what we draw this case off the court, we allowed the accused them for like almost go free, even though they say that they will strategize and try. We don't know whether they will come back with the case or not. So here comes the serious challenge of the SEC. First thing first, the SEC na salon will never, I bet anybody when they listen me, and they bet anything for say will not ever able to succeed for fight corruption na salon. Ever. I'm not be pessimistic person. I'm a highly optimistic person when it comes to certain issues. But sometimes you get to see the reality and accept it. There is difference between idealism and realism. We're not in a classroom per se, and not that can try to give people the lecture. But for a lot of people to understand, there is difference between universe and university. Now, when you're in a university, your teacher will tell you, say, 2 + 2 na 4. John, na a name of a boy. Mary, na a name of God. If a question like this come na an exam and you put on like how they say, believe me, you get 100%. This is true. But when you come out of the university, you enter inside the universe, in reality, you go no say yes. When you see John, it not necessarily means say na boy. Or other person go, how do you say not a boy? You go see Mary, other person will tell you say, mean a God. You go see 2 + 2, where from school say na so if for being a 4. Other people would challenge you say not to 4. It mean other thing. It mean 5. So these are the reality. Now what we try for talk here? Who knows how? Who knows if this particular case get political interference? Now people like Alpha Timbo are a very senior political figure na the SLPP, where he even senior pass the president, when Amadabio, and others, where they are accused of this. Now, given the current uncertainty of this government, whether they will get another term because of so many complaints around grumbling, work not a thing for it, not the corruption, all that stuff, then no one probably lost another very strong supporter or a very strong political giant, now the party, where na man way we don't they fight for the party. Now that make a talk about two words, idealism and realism. There are beautiful things that we see in a book or they read, or we see so things for good. But in reality, they happen so. When it comes to governance, now a different structure, now a different strategy, in the sense that even there will come a time when the political party, then they put the interest of the political party above the country interest. This now they happen so. Let me go back from when we talk about when Ernest Bai Koroma Kana power, a cow and Niger, it was enthusiastic for fight corruption. When they accuse people like Kemosise, Afsatu Kabade and others, of course the ACC make attempts for challenge them. How we end, they end up for fan clause, they remove them, they free them, they wash them clean, bring them come back in governance. This is not the politics where they play in the country. We I try to talk about realism and idealism. We're very important. Again, the same strategy most probably now SLPP they use to say this man is very powerful. If we left this person, he go. Now we don't shoot to self on the foot. So technically, you see how political interference they can inside. Now, for fight corruption in the country, anybody will tell you say not possible, it possible 100%. The political will now we need more. In other words, it's not just left to the president. The president will get the political will for pursue the fight against corruption. But again, the president not just one person in one political party where they give power, where they give opportunity for their lead. There are people that will surround the president, where even powerful past the president, where the president they afraid or even they listen to. Where then people are behind the sign and then they control the president. Anything when they say the president, not that option, but for succumb. Who knows what they don't play behind. So this is not the problem who they face in the country. Now, even this current ACC, themselves they want more powers. They want a parliament in 2019, they make another amendment where give them more power for go after other people and for make them be more independent number. They progress from more starter when from the Attorney General, they set 3 people then for investigate, for approve whether for prosecute. Then come from 2007, they allow the ACC for prosecute. Now the ACC get another more powers. The trend they move. This is all they tell you about the political commitment where each and every president gets. Now, why would they look at them here? Majority of the Salon people there no go school. More than 60% no land book. They know they read, they know they write. So as a result, we are quickly, it quick for me to manipulate we, use we, misuse we, like just give me any trash or maybe sometimes no obligation to me for explain anything. This is Salon where things and they happen. It's painful. And I can tell you back again, the relevance of the ACC, if you look at it technically, not just Salon government grab say they want set up ACC. Where a lot of people don't understand this, but today some of we will go let the other one they will listen for make they understand say the ACC, not just Salon people and grab say they want to know a dictated institution. Now they feed, now the Britain and partner with other partner and so forget her. In fact, defeat might be the sponsor largely enough until 2005 would be vexed because it seems as if we are not serious for fight against corruption, then stop them funding. Now, there are institutions here like the ACC, they like maybe just for like a requirement because Salon a donor driven country. Anything we want for run country, we not get money. Pass we go to the other neighboring country, they will party, they will go big. Then money then they now they take. We can run for pay salary, pay for water, other things there for run country. Well, there's small money, then they will go bigger so. Now in few 3 months, they will just sit down and take and shape. Money what they for take put in the health, 2-3 people and go buy counterfeit drugs, kill people, the balance and put on the or they not buy at all. The roads money what they for put for make roads where at least we'll get a smooth road there, accident free or in a very minimal. People will just find substandard materials they make road, they look the road then. So accident they happen. Because the roads they're not free, they're not standard. Road beside them for spend $1 million, then go end up for spend maybe $200,000, the balance in Shiba. Electricity, money what them for camp for low we get 24 hours light. For buy fuel, man and go day then begin Shiba. All of them challenges there that I make the work of the SEC very relevant for make sure say we minimize, because absolutely no country, not the way we bluff say they able conquer corruption 100%, but at least now will drastically reduce in power. Now, so that make me feel say, I don't know the question based on waiting Ben Kaifala be say, if there is a political interference in work, it will resign. This not a statement. Unfortunately, I know you will play this clip now, but a lot of people will follow and know yes indeed, not to I know misquote her. He said that what there, some of who be the follower. Now, but again, let's look at the reality here. This is a young man where they enjoy some benefits along the line. Fat salary, you get beautiful apartment where government they pay, you get your driver, you get privileges there, you get your motor car, all of them here. Where even when if you want quickly stand by word, if you don't look at all the surrounding, I want to talk about the idealism and realism, talk about reality. Because for let you get a quick befitting job like this one again, I'm not saying that they're happy, no, but it's difficult. It go difficult. So some people, even when you don't pronounce certain things, it is still compromised because it's survival. So who knows? So that make me ask the question: if not time if it resign, or maybe the SEC not serious. But however, this like there is a saying they say, to whom much is given, much is expected. Because some of we, at least we know small, very small. We don't know much, but very small. We know certain things and they behind the scene where you are powerless. Now, let's take for example the SEC. The boss of the SEC is appointed by the president of any regime. The first one, Tijankaba appoint Collier, Aneskroma appoint this successor, and Madabio appoint this current Ben Kaifala. Now, even if the SEC boss, Ben Kaifala, one for go after, one for doing work properly, no matter how enthusiastic and passionate about his job, he still get to take the blessings of his boss, where he get power, where he get where appointed. And this is not a recipe for corruption itself. This is because, to be honest, nobody absolutely not go give job, though you go against in wishes, where go hotter deeply. Let's say, for example, the president himself, Ben Kaifala, no matter how evidence he gets against a way involving corruption, Chris go after, Chris. And okay, don't forget about the president, maybe immunity be where they not power. Law say the president in Kon is there, in party they will surrender to God. Ben Kaifala no go after them people and he must ask the blessing of the president if he forgo. Or law say, for example, the first lady, the answer for God's project, so people accuse and say he don't eat some of them money then they. No, I like Ben Kaifala Komon-Tok, go after the first lady. He must therefore ask the blessing of the president. Look, for example, another allegation of the chief minister, where they are accused of 1.5 million. How that case they come out? For more a year, where the SEC just probably contact the Eco Bank. Now that's not even invite themselves for tell you see. The reality is different from idealism. No matter how the intention they forfeit, if the will, the power, you answer tight, they will move, go do anything better. Now, this is very serious. Now that makes some of you feel say maybe the SEC not just a joke. Because all the conviction rate to them get to the more than 95% success rate. Now very small people that way 60 million, 80 million, 100 million. These are people that were like not a very powerful people. We look like what the very powerful people are involved. Alpha Timode, where all man knows say na heavyweights na SLPP na giants there. How them do? Technically, the first way for withdraw the case, citing things and way not just make any sense because they say they want let jury or not sit down at the case na a judge. Where as if to say the people that they talk to na all man get coconut it. In our opinion, so. So these are some of the things where Salone they face. Now that make the fight against corruption of Salone we like a daydream. We far from it. These are the reality. Not the reality. Because the political part that be, not a good chance for let any commissioner do in work correctly. Interference they behind the scene. When you look at when this very guy starts in work, he was passionate, the public day after around, but all those behind the scene, the warning them, the threats or the advice or the caution, whether the cautioner for say not prosecute this, not do this, not do that, think about the party, think about this. You know, all of these here, you look at in reality, and job is very important for people like that and any other people. Now that make it fun say some people they can look at they can look at certain things in a very broad manner, just like what they try for open up for see the difference between like what you mentioned, the idealism as well as the realism. Now we just try for round up because we want to make this program very short. Once in a while, we'll come and try for sensitize people. We will make some recommendations. Where I feel say their recommendations will make a big difference. One of the recommendations we will make to government, if they listen to this recommendation, probably it might make a big difference in the fight against corruption. But again, the recommendation not only to government, but also to the people of Sierra Leone. Whether they listen me, I want for let this thing they ring now we ask them. Lord, we get as a food for thoughts. At least they'll ponder upon her. What time they try for talk so? Corruption, they take lives of each and every Sierra Leonean by seconds. We know. Through the hospital, through the roasting, through the projecting, through the electricity, and so many, nearly all facets of the country. Corruption did it, and we know how we suffer in the country. But again, for any problem, there is a solution. There must be a solution. One of the recommendations we go submit to government, to the people of Sierra Leone, not this. The office of the SEC must be elected. It will be elected. It will be elective. The office of the SEC, the position of the SEC, will not for allow the president not for appoint the person where they be the SEC. This is a recipe for corruption because the boss, no matter any president will come, any other president will get for come in future. If this same system continue, now so the big guns there, when are very powerful political actors now, then political parties no will ever go after them because the president and one person inside the political party and the other big people that were very powerful, where even the president they listen to or they afraid. So they go for compromise. Now that make if we want to succeed for fight corruption, one of the things we for do, the position of the SEC boss must be an elective. 5 years. Then vote for this person. Enough for stand under no political party. Not for stand for APC, SLPP. If for completely be independent. So the person who go get the will, he go get the passion. Favorism not go there at much. The political consideration, whether I go lost my job, whether the person go happy, whether the person not go happy, it will be minimal or reduced. Because say in position now elective. That I repeat, Even if another president come, if not the same pattern they use when the president for hire and fire the ACC boss, corruption, the how they feel, how they think, for their high profile cases then, they ever come to pass. Not think about that. So there is a difference between idealism and realism. And the reality we talk about here. The reality. This is not a joke, not the reality. So as far as the situation concerned, the ACC not just a joke, or probably not just for attract donor funding for at least get money from we partners and we institute we like recommend say power for get ACC. But if we really as a country, as people, we want to take corruption off the hook, we want empower the ACC for threats, it will be elective. For vote for that office say every 5 years and see low test. Because let's be honest, if we don't try something, if you don't try one aspect for a very long time, it not work. People don't use presidents there for appoint ACC, will not see effective. Why will not go try this other pattern? Okay, Lord, all the presidents there, let the president not get the power for effect. Now we make the constitution. Now we can able come back together as people in referendum or whatever through parliamentarians. We make a law say the power for appoint the ACC boss. Therefore, we move on in the hands of the president. And now they said will make the president self be fear because himself they at stake. And anybody also around the president himself go fear because got nobody for protect here. This is now one of the way or the effects corruption, where it will be very, very effective. This I feel say it will make a big difference. Again, another recommendation would do now for the institutions and for support the current ACC Commission for Fights Corruption, like the banks. Because we know that the banks, 9 people in the use for do the money laundering activities. In overseas country I offend with self, just grab one money, one send $10,000 in a salon or whatever, Chris. Even if you go send they go to the blocker. And begin to ask you for different documents, what's your address, your job, your employment, to say get this money. Even if I send the same money, then they try to find out how you get this money. They just grab one money, go and even at one shop, you can go buy some certain thing that will worth like 100,000 or 200,000, not a company send you, just an ordinary person. Even when I shop, then they try to investigate you. That was try to ask even more because credit system in the country. Now they just expect now few people can get the money bulk one for go buy. Now on credit system, they expect you to go to pay small. In the institutions because as salon things and they happen. They say someone they pay on 3 million, 4 million. In 2 years, it don't build mansion, 500 million mansion, 1 billion mansion. Who's how you pull that money? Who's now magician? And now the banks and they use for do the money laundering. Yeah. We don't see many, even the ACC, one of when I chase one NAI guy where from the allegation you go with up to 1 billion loans. So the banks they get for play the role. If they say the possibility the money they flow on one account, I feel say them for alert the ACC, and that will help a lot. Sometimes we don't want to just give too much recommendation, let not just be vague. That make we will tackle these 2 recommendations. The first one, if we for succeed, for set up a free country, a country free of corruption, or a very minimal, we for make sure say we entirely give the power of the ACC boss 100%. But for right now, the current ACC boss are the telling now this now me believe say there is strong political interference in your work, even though you want doing job. But this is not just the reality. This is not just the reality. The past government don't do it, and the current government back they try. Even if Madam you want fight corruption with all the might, Madam you not just one person inside SLPP. People that they in the party were very powerful person. Where they able if they able dirty water for her, if I want to put on so. In other words, they able make life difficult for her, So all them consider the inside people that where they listen to, where in the serious, yes, indeed, yes, this is about people who are not for joke with. So, it's very painful for we see or people they take them for granted too much. Now that makes sometimes we serve the calm or make a beat, try for sensitize people and try for understand the role of certain institutions, them why this they happen and why this they go this other way. But in reality, the things that we see in a book, how one for let happen, not just so in reality they happen. So that's not the biggest challenge. So I think we will try for let we say do we best for invite the SEC for let there's a council waiting them feel say they need more for let them do more for deliver in terms of fighting corruption. And the question it depends on how na answer if based on waiting Ben Kaifala they say that if there is political interference in the work, he will resign. If he go by word, he go fine. He left to her. Me, not the judge for one, just put this question if not time. And because we don't see some them profile them big profile cases there not even go anywhere. Sometimes not even get any clarity. Whilst they succeed for prosecute very small cases and convince them, you understand. But then why when a big on there, we not they see no action. So something is wrong somewhere. Not all man get coconut eat. No. Some people and they think outside the box, inside the box, anywhere in the box when they think. So it's very serious. So long we get a long way from you. We get a long way from you. So again, with Tapia, my name is Mohamed Kago, and until we meet again, wanna stay blessed. And this is now the Talking Points platform. Until we meet again, bye bye.